Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Dylan. We've been almost spending 6 months now. We're about 5.5 months talking about the Sunburn gaming engine.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about the features, the 3D features, the lighting features, the model features, the ability to load components, share components with the community, add in systems, gamepad, controller support for abstractions, physics engines, 2D support. Did I say that one already? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
So at this point, as we come up on just about the end of the run of this first experiment for us, if anyone's listening to the show, that's full stop. If anyone's listening to the show,
They're not.
and you still listen to the show, send us an email, and we will follow up with the Synapse Gaming guys on any questions that you have on the Sunburn engine. You can ask anything at all. They don't have to answer, of course. I'm not going to filter questions, but if you ask them, will there be an XNA 5, they probably can't answer that, and if they can, they're not allowed to answer that. So you might want to just save yourself the effort there. But send us in your questions, and we will work with the Synapse guys and John the Sea Builder, and we will get those answered. So whatever questions you have out there, because I'm genuinely curious. I've had a lot of people since we started this say they're interested, they're checking it out, they're looking at it for the next project. As we pointed out, it's not that expensive, couple $100, $250 for the indie developers package to get the engine. And when you weigh that against your time, depending on what kind of game you're building, if you were building the right kind of game that would be able to take advantage of it, that could be a serious savings on time. And you don't have to look at it in terms of one game. If you look at it across using it on multiple games, I want to say it pays for itself, but I know the rate of return. I know the rate of return on Xbox Live indie games.
Don't lie.
There is always PC, and there is.
But yes, it does, of course, work on PC. XNA games have been known to go to Steam, so you can always use Xbox Live indie games
XNA
as.
For...
All right, so. Send us your questions at podcast@gamemarx.com, and you can follow up with us and check out more about the Sunburn Gaming Engine at synapsegaming.com. All right.
No sound on some.
Yeah, the sound shot seems to have died.
Yeah.
Wait, let me edit shot. Nope, it's gone. All right, so...
you did the pimping only in your mind.
There we go. Now the sound should be up. And Smiler 2 is on. Oh wow. We had a guest, and you missed the entire Sunburn ad. You'll have to go check that out in the actual live version. But we do have a confirmed audio version in there now. Let me do this auto live thing off. Let me switch over here and do the same there. Otherwise, we're going to have the same problem in a second. And now I'm going to switch auto live back on. In case you haven't already figured it out, we're using new software and we're screwing it up live. But we have some cool new features on this new software for streaming, so we're going to give it a go and see how that works out for us. Tonight, I'm joined with Dylan.
Hi.
And Cicely is here.
On and off.
Okay, on and off, chasing the baby. And then also we have Ben Kane of Going Loud Studios. Welcome to the show, Ben.
Thanks, great to be here.
All right. You just launched DLC Quest, which I know we gave it good reviews, but we don't matter. It's actually been getting good reviews from a lot of sites.
Yeah, I've been really surprised and thrilled with the response it's gotten.
Now, do you think it's the humor that's doing it, or do you think there's something else? What's your speculation as to why that one caught traction?
I really think the core concept of the game has enough of a hook that it gets people to talk about it at least a little bit. What's nice is that when people actually go through and download the trial or buy the game, it seems like they actually enjoy the game itself as well, which I wasn't too sure about, but it's really nice to see that most people seem to have pretty positive feedback about it on the whole.
All right. Now your other game that went out was Lair of the Evildoer.
That's right.
And in comparison, how have the two done?
Well, I think it took about a week for DLC Quest to outsell the lifetime sales of Lair of the Evildoer, and I actually had another title called Zombie Accountant, and it outsold both of them combined, within a week. So it's been much more successful. Which
is one of the reasons that I wanted to bring on the show. We're being shut in by Jasmine, which is one of the reasons I don't bring on the show. You took an active approach to your marketing this time and how you were going to release the game. I'm going to give a new run of our software here and actually set you up with a clip. I don't know if you realize this, but you brought a clip.
All right.
We'll see how this goes.
Then the opposite would have to be right. Yes, I will do the opposite. I used to sit here and do nothing and regret it for the rest of the day. So now I will do the opposite and I will do something. Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice that you were looking in my direction.
Oh, yes, I was. You just ordered the same exact lunch as me.
My name is George. I'm unemployed and I live with my parents.
I'm Victoria. Hi.
So I have no idea how that went out. It looked like that video sound sucked, basically, on my end. So anyway, the clip was Seinfeld, and the setup basically was that, every decision he's ever made has been wrong. So therefore, the opposite of any of his instincts is correct. And that's kind of the tack that you took with your article on DLC Quest and how you approached on marketing it. Your first point, and you can talk to these a little as you want, was 1 month instead of 6 months. So did you hit that goal? Did you actually get the entire game done in a month?
No, not quite. It was pretty ambitious to say that I wanted it done in 6 months, but really my plan was to do as much different from my Lair of the Evildoer development as possible, because really that one dragged on for 6 or 7 months, and it just wasn't feasible to have a game flop and then keep going like that. So I figured if my games are going to flop, I'm going to at least fail quickly, and that was kind of the idea behind trying to get a game out in 1 month. I think in the end it took me about 6 or 7 weeks to make DLC Quest, so it's been pretty profitable.
Now, are you doing game dev full-time, or is this a hobby or a supplement?
This is my full-time job, which is why spending 6 months for small return just isn't going to work for me.
Right, yeah. So, well, that's good to hear. Now, the second thing that you had on your list was making a press kit. I'm curious, what did you put in the press kit?
I actually read an article from a website called Wootcoms, I think. They put out an instructional article on how to make a press kit, and it was for things like screenshots and box art and your press release as usual. But then they also said to include things like a basic fact sheet that wouldn't really be good for the press to sort of publish, but it would contain all the basic information like where they need to find it and how many players, what platform, what genre. So I put one of those in, and then I put in a quick company bio, which was pretty good because it got people just some information about what other games I had made. And then other than that, it was really just the usual high-res screenshots and things just all bundled into one zip file, which turned out to be pretty important for people looking for that kind of stuff.
So that was more for making it easier, I guess, some of the traditional sites, because I know for the hobbyist sites like we do, I wouldn't know what to do with them. Like I'm fine copying a link off a website or something, or linking to, but I guess that's a more standard done practice. Because I see that a lot on what's the name of that site that I registered us on? The Game...
No, I'm thinking...
Games Press?
Games Press, yeah, that I get my daily digest from. There's just a lot of those. Just like, here's press kit, download this zip. Which really, I kind of saw behind the scenes, because you know how everybody has the latest trailer, and they have it branded for their game, or branded for their site. So when you go to Kotaku, it's a Kotaku logo on it, but if you go to Giant Bomb, it's got a Giant Bomb logo on it. Actually, I don't know if Giant Bomb does that, but most of them watermark it in some way.
Yeah.
That's how they're doing it. It's like, oh, well, these guys give you the raw assets video. You can download the raw asset video and then upload it however, and they don't care. They tell you in the thing, we don't care, you know, because they're just wanting to get word out. Did you get any direct contact off of the press kit, or do you think it was just more of a awareness success?
Well, I'm sort of fumbling my way through all of this, so I really don't know what I'm doing any more than a lot of other people. And so I put together the press kit because someone said it was a great idea, and in my press release, I had a link to the press kit. But I didn't actually send out the press kit to anyone, which, looking back, is a pretty obvious thing that I should have done. So instead, I just sent out the press kit, which had a link to it, and then some people clearly followed that, downloaded the press kit, and used some of the assets from it. But it wasn't until I had some journalists actually asking me for specific information that I would point them towards the press kit.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool. Now, your next point is the one I love the most, with the top download list. So you released your game on Wednesday, right?
That's right.
So now, I don't know if this was the plan or it worked out this way, but what ended up happening is you wanted to be on the list for Friday when a lot of downloads start coming in over the weekend. So when people start drinking and they get drunk, and then that's the prerequisite to finding the channel to begin with. So, you know, you want to be set up for all that late night drunks coming home and getting on the Xbox. But what you found is by releasing on Wednesday, that gave you enough time to build some sales traction and some rating traction that you weren't just on one list, but you were actually on the ratings and the download list as well as the new releases list. Now, was that the plan, or did that just kind of work out that way?
That was absolutely just some luck that I wasn't really banking on. For one thing, you can never really count on the lists on the dashboard. So
I believe they're frozen right now.
Yep. Yeah, they've been frozen for about 7 or 8 days, at least.
Which is payment time, so that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone at this point.
Yeah, not at all. No sales data, late payments.
The database obviously cannot issue payments and update the download list at the same time.
What are you, crazy?
Yeah, that's technology we don't possess yet.
Yeah. Yeah, my main motivation behind releasing earlier was just so that I could get some attention from journalists before they went home on the weekend. I really felt that by releasing on a Friday with my previous game, I was basically emailing throughout Friday afternoon trying to get people's attention and I guess hoping they'd write something somehow before the weekend, which is just never going to happen.
So I love that one, and that one actually turned out big, and I know that we've noticed this too because we play all the games every week. That there's usually this lull in the middle of the week where no games are being released, and then it's always a hectic thing, because for us, Thursday night's the cutoff, because, like you just said, we can't talk about a game on Friday if we haven't played it, so any games that release on Friday, for us, you're going to wait a whole week. Now, not that that drives any sales or anything, but I think if you extrapolate out from there, it's like, yeah, Friday you're trying to get the content up you're already prepared to get up, and you don't have time to look at new content. So I love that point. I think that was a really good revelation that came through as far as usually in the middle of the week. But, you know, it's one of those things in hindsight, it's like, I think games normally launch on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, don't they?
Tuesday.
PlayStation is Tuesday usually.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything is Tuesday anymore, I think. I guess it makes sense. Like, they're all the kinds of different rationales. It's just which one pans out to be the most useful.
Yeah, and it depends. I guess it greatly depends on your market and where you're targeting on. Because, you know, you look at movies, and they all release on Friday because everybody's getting off for the weekend, and it's like, hey, let's go see a movie because we're off for the weekend.
Yeah.
And so that's when you want to be out. But then games.
Actually, DVDs and I think even music will usually hit.
Anything that you
Tuesdays.
don't have to be there to do
It
releases
seems like
on
Tuesday and
Tuesday.
through Thursday seem to be the most common that new stuff comes out, and if it doesn't, and then it's on a weekly
Well,
cycle.
like a couple of weeks ago, I want to say Modern Warfare 3 and maybe Battlefield 3, Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom, and there were like 3 or 4 games that all hit on a Tuesday.
So, your next couple of points on here, Ben, were almost kind of sarcastic. So, build on your past efforts. Well, or, the opposite would be not to throw out your past effort and start over. So, you didn't really use any code from your previous games in DLC Quest.
Yeah, there was some low-level things left over, like handling storage or inputs or things like that, but nothing related to the game itself. It seemed like making a direct sequel would have been the fastest way to go about something, but I was also so entirely sick of that game by the time I finished it that I just had to do something completely different.
Now, I forgot to look up before we got into it. I don't remember where Lair of the Evildoer ranked the week we covered it. I don't remember if we gave it Game of the Week or not. I know we talked favorably of it.
I think we did a video on it, but I don't believe we gave it Game of the Week.
And you could have just been in one of those weeks too that were
had 24 people in it.
like weeks before Dream Build Play. There was some weeks 25, 30 games coming out in a week. Ridiculous. And now we've got another week with 5 games. It's the second week in a row. So releases are definitely lopsided throughout the year.
Last week was 6, but one of them got canned.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder
next
if,
week one of them's going to get canned too.
We've already done the video on that, just in case it does.
I wonder if it has to do with like the downloads list freezing, like, oh, better not release now.
No,
But that could be it too. That could be it. There could be, if anybody's paying attention, they would hold off now because it has been frozen a while, and it's also payment time, so that would
And
be
it's
nice.
Thanksgiving.
touch.
If
Yeah,
you're at
that
your
too.
parents' house, they probably don't have the equipment for what you need.
Well, yeah, I mean, and there again, there's probably a rationale of like, oh, there will be people off, but there were people will be with
Gone.
family, so
And obligated to pay attention to people.
yeah, but
I don't know. You could see a spike this weekend though. After it's all settled down, family-wise. That
Today was Black
Yeah.
Friday, and you probably had men that were wrangled into going out there to brave the stupidity.
the next point on here is again a sarcastic one. Games should have enemies, health bars, and ways to fail.
Yes.
So there's not actually ways to die in DLC Quest?
No, there's really no way you can screw up DLC Quest. It might seem like it's somewhat open-ended and you have choices, but you really don't. You have to buy everything in the right order. You can't get yourself stuck. You can't get yourself in a position where you aren't able to get all the awardments or anything like that, at least if I've done it properly.
Which, that's just kind of an interesting game design discussion, separate from like what this game and its successes. It's just that you don't have to have ways to die and fail and punishment to have a fun game. DLC Quest was a game of the week, wasn't it? It was our game of the week.
That was definitely...
I think so. It was,
I'm
and
pretty certain it was.
we're doing this based off the trial, so I'm kind of curious. Like, I know. Maybe I shouldn't get into this. I remember Braid, like, one of your arguments, was it you or John that argued, like, this is not a game because there's, no way to fail?
That's probably
It's a puzzle. Yeah,
probably
it's
John on that. And I
remember
think you
that was
can.
heated.
No, you could fail
You
in
could fail.
even Braid.
It wouldn't be
Right.
completely over.
You
but
could
it
screw up
fails.
a level so that you had to restart it, and then there were there spikes at some point?
Yes,
yeah.
there were.
So I guess where is the puzzle and the challenge in that model? Is I guess
Well, it's in solving the puzzle.
Okay.
I guess in DLC Quest, it's in going through the quest, and even though you may not think of them as puzzles, they are puzzles, of a sort. It's like, hey, you can hit this grindstone, or you can figure out how am I going to get some coins to be able to buy the speed hack and
Yeah.
get the sword faster. And that is sort of still a puzzle, and, you know, it's not necessary that you kill the player and basically slow down their progress. Basically have some way where they have to replay a portion or something to do that. Now let me ask you in DLC quests, just because I'm curious. We spent a lot of time messing with the goats. The guy said not to mess with the goats.
Sheep. They're sheep.
Oh, okay.
Shepherd.
The shepherd.
Shepherd.
So that, are you the fan of the Giant Bomb podcast, by the way?
No, actually. Do they make the shepherd joke?
Oh, non-stop. Like, that's...
For one time, it was just as prevalent as when they went, Jason! Jason!
Yeah.
That makes even less sense.
So, I mean, did anything ever happen if you went and killed all the sheep? Did he ever get upset with you on that?
No, he doesn't. And there's no reason to hurt any of the sheep. I don't know why you were attacking them. That's just cruel.
Because he said not to.
He said not to. I mean, what else do you expect me to do in that situation?
Why do people attack the chickens in Zelda?
Just because you can.
Well, actually, I didn't start attacking the chickens until people told me that they come back with a vengeance. So I was like, oh, really? Bring it, you know? Do you guys ever watch Ilo and Ix on Penny Arcade TV?
No.
You both should watch it. Definitely both of you. Because if I'm finding it funny, then you guys will probably find it hilarious. Because it is an entire satire. It's a series that is a satire on Nintendo-era JRPGs. And there's some humorous references in there. But there's at one point where they're in a chicken, and one of them keeps picking up the chicken and throwing it around. For humor. There's no speaking. There's no audio voice in that game, though. In that series, you just read the text. But it's all fourth wall type stuff. Like, they're going to the village, and the people keep saying the same thing over and over again to them in the village, and they're like, you know, what is wrong with you? You know, and then they basically run into like glitches in the game to where they do a part of another quest before they were supposed to, and so they bring the princess, they have the princess, and then they go get the quest from the king of, oh, find my dear princess, and they're like, right here. No, we have her. She's right here. Here is your daughter. Right? Oh, come on. Let's go. You know? So, sorry off there. And then the other points, getting back to the article, if you can't sell the game for what it's worth, make it worth what it sells for, which is a nice way of saying that, hey, the indie games are $1 for all intents and purposes. Going over $1 is a serious risk, so don't make something you would want to sell for 15. I think that's points we've hit on before, and that ties into the, you know, make a game in a month, not a 6-month process.
Basically, scaling down to, you know,
managing the risk. You know, if you put in a lot, knowing that you only charge $1, just kind of, I guess a good way to do this is to take out some scratch paper and basically say, like, hey, what do I want to live on per month? You know, like, how much money do I want coming in each month? You know, write that down. I want $1,000 a month. Okay, we'll realize that means selling 1,000 copies in 1 month of your game.
Yep.
Now, if you spend 6 months on the game, now you need to sell 6,000 copies. And then just start wondering, like, oh, wow, okay, not too many of those games sell 6,000 copies. Once you start going north of 2,000, you're really hoping for something extra that may not be there.
Maybe you will sell enough to get that check. Some people don't.
Some people don't.
Maybe
some people never see that check.
Udon rather than just staying on ramen. This
is interesting. The one you have on here of don't talk about it. The point, I guess, that you were making here is that don't spend a lot of time blogging and writing up how you're doing the game versus working on the game, right?
Yeah, that's basically my point. It's not so much that it's not worth talking about your game, but if you don't have much of an audience to begin with, then your time is probably better spent making the game itself.
Yeah.
Now, I will come back on that one a little bit, in that maybe you don't need to be doing technical articles, but maybe throwing up little bitty Tumblr posts, Notch style. You know, like here's a drawing of a new mob, or here's a screenshot, or I'm thinking about this character. Because one thing that I've kind of noticed is with some indie games, a lot of people love the story of the indie developer almost more than the game. Like, there's a lot of credence to Minecraft of people telling their friends, like, no, it's this one dude, Notch, and he's totally awesome, and he's doing this game. Versus, like, you have to play Minecraft because here's the features of the game.
I think that's another case, though, where...
There's a bit of hipsterism to it. You know, like, I like to brag that I knew of them before they were big.
I think that's another case, though, where, you know, you have a model, you have a rationale for how things work, like how this decision affects the outcome of the game, when really there are a lot of variables. I mean, you know, for every game like or Minecraft where, you know, Notch is posting stuff to Tumblr, there are probably ones that are posting stuff and no one cares. So,
well, it needs to be out there though if somebody comes looking, I guess.
Right. I think
if there's nothing there, there's nothing to latch onto.
And every so often you need a brain break. And that's when you can say, this is what I've done today.
But these don't have to be heavy time-intensive articles either. Like I said, this could just be make a quick video of gameplay, throw it on YouTube, link it in Tumblr.
I think there has, like, you have to approach it realistically and go, okay, this may work, but I need to make sure, you know, like, I need to manage my time, and I need to be aware of the response it's getting. You know, so if I'm spending all my time and not getting much response, then...
But the other thing to realize, too, is that it's not going to happen on that first game. You're going to build a small cult following off of a few games. You're going... I mean, you got to build that first core group who are the actual hipsters, who knew you before anybody else did, that when they evangelize it to the next tier, that it can then build on and have that network effect come into play. If you don't have anything, then you don't start that kernel and it doesn't go anywhere. Even when you go back and you look at Notch, like, he's got 5 or 6 other games that he's put out that went nowhere.
Yeah. Well, it depends. And I think too, there might be a rationale to the other side of, like, if you do too much, then people are going to get tired of hearing about it over the course of, you know, development time.
Right, but I mean, that guy's back to what I said. Short 1 minute post, 5 minutes to get a screenshot up, Tumblr it. That's what you need out there. That's all you need, something for somebody to graft onto.
If your development time is 6 weeks...
You're not on the mic, dear.
Right. If it's...
If your development time is 6 weeks and you post one story a week, you've done pretty good.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I do not
You don't have to break down the state engine in your game from a tutorial level. But, you know, you should have some presence out there. Because I'll tell you, nothing's more annoying than when we get something from a game developer wanting to check out their game. I try to go find your studio page and try to just suss out how much effort should I put into covering this person. And if I go and I don't find anything that you're out there, it tells me, well, this is your first swing, your first crack. I'll just... I'm not going to spend much time investigating this guy. Now, if I find a site, and you've got some other things, and you did this Flash game, and you did this other thing, and it's all kind of in one place for me, and there's a story around it, then I'm more interested in looking deeper and covering that game because there was something out there.
Yeah.
You don't have to spend a lot of time building it, but just throw something out there.
Yeah.
Last point on there is making a funny trailer. And I gotta agree with this, that, yeah, if you have a trailer that is above and beyond gameplay, I think gameplay is important.
Yeah.
You can always have a gameplay trailer. You can always say, like, oh, here is the gameplay trailer. I think spending some time to make an interesting, draw somebody in trailer, even if it's a parody trailer or, you know, some inside joke style trailer or something, is worth a lot more than just a straight
Well, something that goes viral. Like, no one's going to watch a gameplay trailer and go, holy crap, I must share this with
Yeah,
everyone.
look at this dual stick
Like,
shooter.
The odds of that happening are lower than if there's some hook.
Since your trailer was up on YouTube, what did it top out on? Did the views go up pretty good, or?
Yeah, it's sitting at something over 23,000 views right now, which for me is a lot. It's
For
more
us,
than 10
that's a
times
lot.
what my other trailers.
Pretty much anyone, that's a lot.
We have our videos top out at a couple hundred. If they got boobs in them, 8,000. That's about it.
No. It's not,
wait, and then if you do a video review on a card-based seafaring game that is so complicated nobody knows how to play it, that gets a lot of views too.
wait, which one did this?
Your
Ancient Trader?
Yeah, your
I did
Ancient
not
Trader
realize
review.
that.
Oh yeah, it's like one of our top
But it was,
three.
I'm guessing it was a lot like the Moe Mercury, like where people are like, how do I find, strategies for this?
I don't know if it's strategies. I think it might be a lot of people of like, how do I play this, or what is this
Okay.
game? Because that is one when you see, you kind of wonder like, what is this game?
I think that was one of those that hit big. Like, it got mentioned a couple of places in bigger gaming journalism.
That's a post maybe for the end of the year, just to go back and
Look at which games blew up.
we're several hundred videos in now. By the way,
Oh yeah, I mean,
we have a crap ton of content. I gotta get that available up on a Roku. So with all this rules learned and the recent success going on, do you have a next project in mind?
Right now, my main focus is actually bringing DLC Quest to PC. Working on porting that, seeing if extra content is warranted and what that would be. And beyond that, I'm really just looking for basically making more short games. I'm really happy with the way this one went, and I think that if I'm going to be experimenting with strange things like this, it's probably best I don't spend too much time on any given idea.
Okay, if you do it on PC, of course, you get access to the internet. You could actually have actual DLC in DLC Quest.
Yep,
maybe
that's
you
a
don't.
slippery slope.
Yeah, maybe you don't purchase it with money. Maybe you still get it through the game or something. But you could release DLC packs for DLC Quest and extend the game. Maybe add a level or two with that. Any particular? Are you still just working on the port at this moment, or you actually got any kind of any distribution platforms that you're going after?
Well, everybody and their mom wants to go after Steam. I've talked to them about putting on Lair of the Evildoer. They weren't too interested, but I'm talking to them again about putting DLC Quest on. Hopefully the more impressive numbers and better coverage convinces them. Other than that, there are other portals out there like Gamersgate, Desura, Indievania, Indie City, lots of indie places.
Mm-hmm. Yep, quite a few. Yeah, if you can get on Steam, it's great. They do have a higher bar, and sometimes it doesn't even matter the quality of the game. It can be your genre. They can just feel that they have enough of those at the moment, or that's not selling or something, too. So there's a little marketing to that I've heard as well. But obviously, yes, if you can get on Steam, by all means, get on there. They might take, I've been impressed lately with what they have taken, as far as games that I wouldn't have thought would have gotten on there. I played Trauma, I think is the name of it. It was in a Humble Bundle a while back.
I remember the name.
And it's basically a Myst type game. If you remember Myst from the early aughts, maybe the 90s. I don't know when did Myst come out? 90s. It was in 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, because I remember playing Riven in like 97, 98, so, and that was a sequel. That was Myst sequel. So, I mean, all Myst, if you didn't play Myst, was look at the pretty picture and click on something. It wasn't adventure gamey in the type of like a Sierra game, like a Police Quest or a King's Quest.
I don't think you could really die.
No, you didn't really die. It was just more of get a few items and put them here, and then play a short little QuickTime video of something, and oh, look, it's high art, and it was over. Like, I was not enthralled. It sold really damn well, but it was just one of those things that was like, I think the people who played it didn't play regular games. You know, it's like that Wii syndrome of, you know, the people who buy the Wii don't play hardcore, you know, they're not hardcore gamers, they play the Wii.
Well, it was one of the first that used video. It was one of the first that used, full motion video, 3D renderings.
That was not... No, maybe it was full motion in a few sequences. I do remember it was like postage stamp video, like it had a full scene, but it was very obvious, like the video was only playing.
There was like videos that played within books or something.
Yeah, and things like that.
It was back when like CD-ROMs, like multimedia was the buzzword. And,
yes,
yeah,
it definitely was around that time of Myst and Seventh Guest. Zork Nemesis, by the way, if you do go down that path, play Zork Nemesis. Screw Myst, play Zork Nemesis. At least that had some humor to it and better puzzles, I thought.
I forget about Seventh Guest and some of those other ones. Maybe Myst may not have been the first, but it was...
No, it was on that cusp. It was in that cusp of them figuring that out. And Trauma is that way. Although Trauma, if you've ever played with like Photosynth or any of the 3D photo online galleries where they take your photos and then they construct the 3D object from the 2D photos, and then you can kind of like mouse around it, but as you mouse around it, what you're actually seeing is the photos from all the different angles, so it's moving at a hard plane. It's not a smooth transition because it's not a 3D object. Right. You're just looking at the photos from the proper angle. That's what they did on that. I played it. It wasn't that difficult to solve anything. It was, you know, go find item, use it here, go find item, use it there, and done. And then some of it was just kind of proceed in a certain order or something. 30 minutes, I think, tops. And really? I had not only gone through the entire game, gone back and found everything extra in every game. Like every little extra bit that I could find and unlock. It had a real weird, again, like Myst, high art type background.
Do you get like achievements or anything?
I don't think Steam? It had Steam achievements, but that's the thing. It's on Steam. So, and I never thought that would have made it on Steam. Now, I don't know how the Humble Bundle works. If the Humble Bundle has pull to get these games on Steam,
if they just give out
if
codes,
they have to be on Steam, yeah, or if they have to be on Steam to begin with, then they get the code. So that may have gotten in because of the Humble Bundle, but it's worth. I guess my point is it's worth still pursuing to even like DLC quest, because like I said, what has gotten on there has been surprising, especially if you have some kind of success elsewhere.
And DLC quest plays kind of satire to the type of people who are going to be on Steam anyway, so I would think that would...
It might be a little too close to home for a company that sells hats.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Maybe they won't notice that. Maybe they'll just slip on by them.
Will not be questioned.
Yeah, okay. I didn't... Oh, she's getting her night-night bottle now. Okay. There was a request to have the baby on the mic, but we're in... She's eyeing the marshmallows.
Say she moved away from the bottle like, no, I want to say something.
I have shit to say that is important. So
this is going to end badly.
No, it's not.
Oh no, yes it is.
So definitely, you're going to stick with the short game ideas and go from there. Though, so none of this success has put you back in saying, you know what? Now it's time for the Lair of the Evildoer sequel.
No, not quite. I think for any grander ideas I have, I'm going to try to break them down into sort of smaller core components that I could make a small game around, and then basically build up to something greater that way. So with Lair of the Evildoer, I tried to do absolutely everything all in one game, and that's just too much. It ends up coming out sort of poorly designed and just not polished as it could be. But if I were to do like just focus on twin stick shooting for one game and then maybe just procedural level generation for another, that kind of thing, I think it could be a good way of working towards something much bigger.
And not only that, by shipping the games, by taking games to completion, you'll get better and better You know, so like you do all these little games, you'll learn so much more that you'll actually be able to go back and see, like, oh wow, well now I could crank out Layer of the Evildoer in a month. You know, like I've gotten honed on all these different edge cases, and I've done all these different types of games that I've been exposed to more problems that you come up with, again, game development, and I kind of already figured that one out. It's already a solved problem.
And if you use the smaller games to make inroads on things like Indie City and Indievania and maybe even Steam, then suddenly that 6 month, to a year game, starts making sense if the result is better than what you get on Xbox Live Indie games. Yeah,
I mean, if you can get onto the PC, it seems like you'll have an initial rush, but developers I've talked to on PC, you can almost count on a sustained level of sales.
Yeah.
As the game will settle down into almost a regular level of sales, more than you can on the indie games, and then that you can almost count on of like, okay, well, once I get 5 or 6 of these out, then I don't need to make so much on my next game because.
But at the same time, you use the smaller games to kind of test the water and see what you can expect.
You can also learn what works and what doesn't. Yeah, and how hone in there. Speaking of what works and what doesn't, an article on Develop, Apple removes Big Fish subscription app from the store. This went away almost as quick as it came up. So I think it was this week as well. Big Fish on the iPad launched a $6.99 monthly service app. So you would go buy the Big Fish app and pay $6.99 a month. They say they took a while to get to the Apple approval rate, and they had to work with Apple and answer a lot of questions that Apple was concerned about and things like this.
What is Big Fish?
They make a lot of mini-games.
Computer
mini-game collections on the PC. So it's like Steam before there was Steam. It's like one of those lower ones. It's like, hey, buy Bejeweled, So they just want to do, $7 a month and just get access to the catalog and the new games as they come out. Apple approves it, it goes up, and everybody's talking about, like, hey, this is kind of a cool thing, and, here's a new model that might work for, because, again, like, somebody like Zynga, instead of microtransactions and trying to get you to pay, it's like, well, if we can just build recurring revenue and crank out mini games, but you're subscribed to get all of our mini games, then we might be better off, or it might be a new model to explore. And then it was pulled on Thanksgiving
because
with no explanation.
Oh.
Big Fish is out there and like, we're trying to follow up to Apple and find out why it was pulled. I don't know if they had worked out a revenue split. That's something I didn't pop up in any of their articles of, oh yes, we're also paying on that $6.99 a month the full 30%, Apple Store, because Apple's been pretty strict about that. That's one of the reasons that Amazon pulled the Kindle app the way it was. That you can't buy books in the app. You have to click a link, go to the web, and buy it. Because they're just we don't have the margins, on books to give you 30% of every book sale, and then for us to make a cut, and then for the publisher to get what they want. So I don't know if Big Fish worked that out, but from the articles and the direct quotes from the CEO saying that they had to explain it to Apple and work with them on it, told me that between the lines we had to cut a deal so that would work. Guess it's unfortunate it got pulled. I mean, it would have been a rather cool thing if you could do subscription-based gaming.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It depends how well that would work.
Well, I mean, it's not that far off from any subscription-based app that you might have, like, hey, I have a budgeting app that I pay a few bucks a month, or Netflix, I pay a monthly fee to have that. The only difference would be that it's not a service within one app, it's installing apps, and that's kind of the slight change in paradigm is that, well, you don't like install this app once and then pay to keep the service going. You constantly get new free apps through the service, and at some point that kind of feels App Store-ish. that Apple might start to have issue with. But the weird thing is that it got approved and then taken down. So either somebody hit the approve button that wasn't supposed to, or they didn't realize what they were approving. I mean, at this point, it seems like if it would have been anything else of like a bug or a glitch in the payment system, that they would have come out and said, yeah, we had a bug or a glitch in the payment system, you know, because they did that with Gmail. Gmail launched and then got pulled, and it was like, oh yeah, we had a bug in it that was kind of critical, so we pulled that, you know?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if they can make it, you know, if they make it work someplace like Android and it becomes like the new big thing, and then Apple, you know, relents because it's a big thing, but I don't know.
So the chat is definitely asking Ben for a Zombie Accountant 2. When was Zombie Accountant released?
Zombie Accountant was released almost exactly a year ago. I think a year next week. Something like that.
All right. So it wasn't so far ago that it was like in 2008 and there wasn't a whole lot of traffic on there. But yeah, it seems to have been popular among developers. At least they like the idea of it. Now, somebody was asking in the chat, you did work at EA?
Yep, I used to work for EA's Black Box studio.
Ah. I hate finding out this all the time. Like, anytime we get any developer with any level of success on the indie channel,
they've already been in the games industry.
Yeah, they're veterans of the game industry, you know, and have left at some point. So did you strike
That's how
out?
you get the experience, I guess.
Was your choice to go indie more of a, hey, this is really what I want to do and build my own studio? Or was it more of a, yeah, now that I'm here, I'm not liking the industry as a whole, and I'd rather be independent?
There are quite a lot of reasons why I decided to go indie. Definitely, there's some aspects about working in industry. I mean, I can't claim to be an expert. I was only there for a couple of years, but some of the articles you see about really stressful times and just crunch after crunch, there's a grain of truth to those. For the majority of my time at EA, it was like fantastic, and
Rainbows
I
and
would have
kittens?
said, yeah, pretty much every weekend there's a new kitten delivery. Yeah, it was great for the vast majority of the time, and then we had the usual, your project's over, half of you are laid off, half of you are going to different projects, and that really puts a damper on things. So that was around about the time I decided, if I'm going to try making indie games, why not right now while I'm young? I have like no real responsibilities, sitting on some savings. If I'm going to make a run for this, like, now's the time. So I pretty much just decided to go for it and figured if it doesn't work out, I'll have enough experience that I can get back into the industry if that's what I decide to do. Or I could always just go get a real job, I guess.
Oh, don't come get a real job, because that's a worse.
Real jobs suck.
It's a worse suck treadmill because it's just a comfort level. You know, like, there's not, like, you don't come in and like, oh, half a year laid off. Like, there's not a constant reminder that you probably should do something on your own better. It's just kind of a slow death instead of like a one-day wake up and, well, the title shipped. We don't need half of you. We were over budget, so a couple of you will stay on and write some DLC, and a couple of you go to this other studio and work on this, and all of that. It does seem like, and that maybe this is just the internet megaphone, it seems like it's worse in recent years than it had been in the past. Like, the industry is actually getting worse about layoffs and treatment and extra hours. Now, I don't have any direct experience in the industry, so, I mean, that may be the internet and Twitter and social networking taking off, that you hear about it more, and it's not actually occurring anymore. It's one of the reasons I like to see all the indie stuff going on, because if the indie stuff can get significant, and by indie, I mean I'm counting anyone from single guy studios, up to maybe 10 or 15 people that are independent from a publisher.
But not owned by like EA or
not owned by not owned by their publisher, not owned by an EA or an Activision. If they can go off and do their thing and make a living, then we can have a major shift in the industry. And there will still be major publishers doing Modern Warfare 27.
People still need their Modern Warfare
and $60 discs and things like that. But there are a lot of games now that I don't feel are worth the $60. Or I don't want to pay the $60.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the costs behind them aren't needing that $60 sale. And for that to change, I think we got to get rid of some middlemen.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the problems we've gone on and on about Xbox Live indie games is they don't get top billing because console is a different market and it's not open like a phone or a tablet market is. So
they're asking in chat, where did you learn to code, Ben? Books, going to school, self-taught?
Definitely going to school was the biggest part. I'm a software engineer by education, so
you can make a linked list.
I can make a linked list.
You can solve the Tower of Hanoi.
Give me enough time to Google it.
You can solve Tower of Hanoi with recursion.
Yes.
And that has been useful exactly how many times?
Well, you always see the occasional game here and there that tries to put in the Towers of Hanoi as like a puzzle or some sort of loading screen mini game, and really, it's just not fun. Don't do that. Was that BioWare's thing? There was a major... Yeah, there was something in Mass Effect that involved solving Towers of Hanoi.
Yeah, that was the power station. You went down to the power station to shut down...
I don't know that I
the Reaver ship was talking to you. He was projected in this little room, and then you ran down the bottom of the room, and there was a power station, and it was reroute the power flow, and it was frickin' the Tower of Hanoi problem.
I don't know that I got that far in Mass Effect. But...
Tower of Hanoi is, you've got the three rings, or the 3 posts, and you've got the rings on the post, and that you can only stack small rings on top of larger rings. You can't go the other way, and you have to move them from one side to the other. And BioWare is known for sneaking those in somewhere. But in computer programming, in the CS classes that I had, one of the things when we were learning recursion is that you can write a method that is recursive that will solve that problem, so that you can give it an arbitrary state of the Tower of Hanoi, and then it will move them back and forth. So after schooling, did you go right into game development? How did you wind up?
Yeah, I actually went into game development during the middle of schooling. We had a co-op program, and I went out and I went to a conference and talked to people from EA Montreal and got some contact info that way, and then actually ended up applying to EA out in Vancouver and did a year co-op there. They liked what I did, so they hired me on full-time after graduation. Ooh. And that was pretty much it.
Because you're in Canada, when you say middle school, do you mean like when you were 12 to...
No, sorry. I mean the middle of school, like the middle of my university degree.
Oh, okay, the middle of your university degree. Okay.
Yeah, it would be nice if I had a job back in, grade school, but no.
Okay, so when you did graduate college, you had found basically in the States some internships, and then when you graduated as Times Square, they brought you in as a coder, so you didn't have to work your way up to a QA department or anything. Were you starting out on actual game code, or were you assigned to do some tools programming or something?
As a co-op student, they didn't let me anywhere near the game code for probably 6 months or so. And they had me working in the build systems, which was really just like automated tools work and handling things like the render farm and basically building for all the different console platforms, stuff like that. and I think I became a little too useful at that, so they couldn't really move me onto anything else. And certainly nobody else wanted to do the work I was doing. So it was quite a while before I actually got to touch any game code at all.
All right. Well, that's kind of cool. That's a good thing there. So yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on chat because there's a lot of questions coming at you from the chat. But I do got up gamepad support coming to Google Chrome. So I think this was announced. I don't think this is rumor. I think this was announced at they said speaking at Develop Liverpool that there would be support for gamepads with the browser, which I know there's a lot of push for HTML5 and HTML5 gaming frameworks, and GameMaker that we've been looking at has an HTML5 build view for it and that and such. I'm still kind of hesitant that it's going to be majorly embraced. One, it's not there yet. Like HTML5 is not at a cross-platform state, at a cross-browser state that you can just blindly code to it and not worry about it. Especially at stuff you might want to do at the game level. Using some things you can use now are safer than others, but there's a whole amount that you have to learn, like what's safe, what's not, and do all that. Performance, I think it's becoming less of an issue. You're obviously not going to do a Modern Warfare, on there, but you might run most of your 2D games and things like that in there. But adding gamepad controls to the browser,
yeah, I don't know.
Does that do anything for you? Does that, like, you want to jump in more? Does that...
I don't know, because I have to look at that and think that, it's going to be a while before browsers support that, and that's probably lower on their list, I would think. I imagine most people are using, like, mouse and keyboard for stuff like that.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be high.
I don't know. It just...
Which, man, you can kind of do it now if you wanted to get something like Joy to Key.
Well, yeah, but then it's on the player to do.
Yeah.
Not you as the developer.
I don't know if there's a demand for it. The stuff that you run in a browser right now, I don't think it's stuff that I'm reaching for a... well, she's right on the mic now. Yeah. All right.
I think you have, like, the casual game market and then, like, the more hardcore game market. See, I don't know.
Right, which the casual game market is not needing gamepads, and they're most likely going to be the HTML5 games.
I do wonder if... what do people use on the PC now? Like, is gamepad a common thing, or are they still, like, mouse and keyboard? Because, like, when I was into PC gaming, it was mouse and keyboard. I remember trying to play 3D games with... a gamepad, and
there's a lot more
because they were built for
a lot more gamepad support, as a lot more games are built to go between all the platforms.
Yeah, I guess
Steam seems to mark quite a few as with gamepad support, but I got to be honest, I don't bother hooking up the gamepads.
I mean, I've been playing Bastion with the
gamepad.
So I didn't see it.
I've been playing a lot of Isaac, Binding of Isaac, and no, I don't bother at all. It says it supports it, but I don't think I've ever bothered to connect to it. I didn't bother with it on Cthulhu, Saves the World.
It's a role-playing game, so I think that's probably different.
Well, Binding of Isaac is an action game. It's a straight-up roguelike game on there, and no, I'm just not reaching for, like, I don't feel the need to reach for the gamepad. Now, there's been games I've been looking at Steam, like Portal. Portal was $10 this week. Although I ended up missing it. I thought it was going to be $10 longer.
And then he showed it to me. Oh, it's $19.
No.
Portal 2.
Portal 2. Okay.
Because, like, there was a deal on...
Incoming.
The guy with the beard... somebody's asking him to give the baby to the guy with the beard to hold the baby.
I will freak out.
And, yeah, that's going to be bad for the baby and the guy with the beard.
I'm afraid of dropping or otherwise...
Breaking the baby.
Breaking, yes. Hurting...
Yeah, come here.
Babies do strange
here.
things.
Since you're going to
and
interrupt the show
are-
anyway, come here. Hey, come here. No? No? You're not going to come?
Go to Daddy.
See, when I see this, I see like she's gonna trip on something, she's gonna pull something down, something horrible is gonna happen.
Oh!
Not horrible. Just pull
There you
something
go.
down, baby.
You don't touch that. We don't touch that. Then there's no point to being up here, is there? You gonna say something? Hmm? Why don't you tell everybody night-night? You gonna tell everybody night-night?
Say night-night.
Say night-night. Give Daddy a sound sample, damn it. Say night-night. Night-night. Night-night.
It's not a...
If she would just do this stuff on mic and on camera. See, there you go. Night-night.
It's like that she's poking at the mic, like eventually she's gonna
Yeah.
get the wrong thing and
It's just gonna
fall
go all
over.
down. Head on back over to Mommy.
This is how I think.
Come here.
Horrible things, inevitable.
I got you.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if you can get her the stuff, I mean, that's the thing. Like the guy that got the one kid biting the other kid's finger. Ow, Charlie, that hurts. Have you seen that one?
I've not seen that one.
Yeah, it's like two little kids and the baby bites the not very hard,
Right, but
And
still.
it's in a British accent. And he's like, "Ow, Charlie, that hurts." It's like 4.7 million views on there, and the guys like on NPR going like, "Yeah, YouTube advertising. We made $200,000 off of that, actually." I'm like, fuck, just do this shit on camera, and I can YouTube it. And
Oh.
He's been trying to get her to say, brush your shoulders off.
not get her to say "brush your shoulders off."
Just do
I just
it.
want her to do "brush your shoulders off."
The sad
If
thing
she
about
just-
this
If I could get a baby doing that, I could remix the audio and that would be it.
YouTube allows us to do this, and YouTube
It's up to us to say no.
YouTube put Bob Saget out of a job, and I think that is wrong.
Let me see what I got up. I gotta get the show back on track. Here.
It's gone. It is
The
Black
new
Friday.
Xbox dashboard is coming December 6th. So yay, finally. I haven't been able to find any information on that and YouTube.
like screenshots. Or
Screenshots,
screen
YouTube
capture.
support confirmed.
Oh.
What kind of support
I thought
is...
you meant you hadn't found it on YouTube.
Oh, no, yeah, both.
Obviously, yeah.
Both, but YouTube support's supposed to be on that, but again, this is just one of those things where Microsoft is seriously lagging behind and refusing to modernize. And, they were talking about on the Giant Bombcast, on their podcast, somebody had written in and basically asked, why the hell do you pay $60 for live? It's like every other device I have gets Netflix, and I don't have to pay for that, but you have to pay gold to have Netflix.
There has to be a reason.
Same for Hulu. You could say, it's like, I thought I paid for the servers, but now, like, Assassin's Creed, Brotherhood,
EA
Revelation,
hosts a lot of its own crap.
they have $10, like, things in the new. If you don't buy the game new, you have to pay $10 for the multiplayer servers or something, which is kind of half a. We don't want you buying the game used.
Yeah, I think that's more.
But it's like, wait a minute. If EA is running the servers, then what in the hell is Microsoft doing? Because the whole thing was like, hey, we're going to run the servers, and keep them up, and then you pay that. And all that just ties back into YouTube. Like, Microsoft charges, and make sure that they've got monetized and everything, any video that goes up on the Xbox. And, if you're not a blessed Microsoft video, you're not going up and on. And allowing YouTube in will just break that barrier down, because any show that wants to be on the Xbox will just get on YouTube.
Well, I don't know, because A lot of the shows that are on there, a lot of the video sales they get, I bet, are movies, and they're not selling the content that would end up on YouTube necessarily.
In chat, it was asked. Hube's Master 1 asked, so is the news dashboard going to hide the Indie Games channel again? I have read that confirmed. Now, I can't tell you where and how, because anybody that's in the service, it's NDA. So that wasn't supposed to be stated or said. But it's been confirmed, it's buried, and the team was contacted and not a priority to fix. So we'll need to lead another effort again. And it's going to be sad because we'll be pointing back to our old articles saying, Microsoft is, what did I write? Microsoft euthanizes the Xbox Indie service.
See, I don't think that's... I think the massive community outrage got results the first time. And, I don't know how that looked inside Microsoft, how that effort to change it... Well,
this time it'll stack on top of... XNA is dead as a framework, rumors.
Yes.
So
yes,
it'll just, give a whole bunch of people the confirmation bias that they want.
But all this stuff we're griping about, the cost of Xbox Live as a service, all this stuff, I don't think that changes until the next Xbox. I don't think any of this...
Oh, no, that definitely didn't change. I don't think that changes the next Xbox.
This might not change ever.
It might not change ever.
It changes when they no longer are #1 console.
Well, exactly. Something has to change. They're not just going to go, we decided this is going to be... but...
This only changes if PlayStation works.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of getting off track there with what I was trying to say, but I think that massive effort only works once. If they forget the results of that, because someone I'm sure had to go no, we need to do an out-of-band update here to the dashboard. We have to. If they forget that,
well, and again, it just gets pushed higher and higher, and at this point too, you have a lot more developers that can tell you they had their games on Xbox Live Indie Games, and are now on Steam, and can tell you, Z-Boy just posted, Robert Boyd posted 100,000 sales on Steam for Cthulhu, 20,000 on Xbox Live Indie Games. And you have a lot of those stories. Blocks That Matter is up on Steam.
Yeah, and that's a Humble Indie Bundle title too.
Yeah, it was a Humble Indie. Yeah, it was. And so there's more teeth to the story the second time around, because a company or a site like ours can take it now and just hammer home the very popular theme that Microsoft does not support indies, because that's come out. No, that's pushed by Jonathan Blow and guys that we wouldn't call indie because they're not indie channel indies.
Right.
But at higher levels, guys on Xbox Live Arcade, basically said, The Adventures of Shuggy. That launched on Arcade. That was...
But they've got a bunch of other games on indie games.
They got a lot of indie games, but they got this arcade game that came out to zero promotion and advertisement. It just kind of popped on XBLA one day, no advertisement, nothing going on to it.
I think if we get buried, though, I get the feeling that Microsoft's response is going to be, tough. Hey, we've got some indie games on Xbox Live Arcade. And I'm betting, maybe Search will...
And, again, when I played that, when we played this last time, I didn't play the whole card from the angle of indie games need to be saved for indie games. Yeah. I played it of, if Microsoft treats indie games this way, why the fuck would you trust them on Windows Phone 7? Because my thing was to chain the two. Look at the way they treat independent developers here, which has actually become very true in Windows Phone 7. It's not a great treatment over there. But in the middle of the rumors of Windows 8, Windows Phone 8 is going to be WinRT, and XNA is not going to run anymore, and the whole bomber slip up, and all of that, and the fiasco that happened.
Well, even Windows 8 on tablets and Windows
You can
App
chain
Store.
that to evidence of it's much more legs. And then so last time, it had to hit Kotaku and ours, and it got fixed. Maybe this time it can go beyond a Kotaku and ours. But so far, what I have read from people in the beta, The service is getting buried again. It's been brought up. It's been said it's not an issue.
I seriously hope that at the very least, like the links to Games Marketplace and the links to, because this happened, this was what the Indie Channel link was originally looked like. It's a collage. It's animated. It looks like an ad.
I wish I could find the exact. Again, like I said,
I don't know that we want to go into details since that's.
But no, I had the reference to where it was pushed.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like what thread this was on.
And Smiler seemed to point out in chat something I've said time and time again. It's ridiculous that I can't customize my home screen.
Yes.
It's ridiculous that I pay $60 a year for this and get as many ads as that thing has. It almost seems like if you're paying $60 a year, then I don't get ads. That's really the only, you don't have many upsells. At least we'll have cloud saves. I mean, cloud saves isn't something you'd say up to this point. And $60 is a price hike, too. Though. They price hiked the damn thing. They raised the prices on the gold subscription from $49 to $59. They'll have cloud saves, so hopefully that works wonderful. I'm not in the beta. I have no idea how the cloud saves works. But hopefully that works with everything, and I don't need to swap a thumb drive for anything, and I can go to anywhere and play any game and load any save, and not just cloud save enabled games, and if they're not cloud save enabled, then,
I'm wondering how the roaming profile will work, because I'm hoping... I started using KeyPass a while ago. Like, it's one of those... I can't remember what software you use, but it's one of those... like password banks.
I would use password safe. Yeah, I think they actually use the same data file format though.
I was gonna say I switched my live ID over to that because so many people have got hacked. Like if that's required for roaming profiles, might as well just carry on the thumbstick.
You might as well carry the thumbstick at that point.
Keep it handy.
Wow. So yeah, talk that there's even more ads next round. I think I got...
Well, to be fair, I'm assuming it's ads for content on the service. It's not like we're getting,
I got one more news article up here. On the guys behind Jurassic Park, which is Telltale Games, which kind of surprised me. That's kind of a big one.
The game, which...
the game Jurassic Park.
Which one? Like
hacked. Went in, I guess, on the user scores on Metacritic.
Mm-hmm.
And the devs went in there and boosted themselves, claiming. Now, the interesting thing I think that they did differently from some of the others is they weren't attacked and lowered, and then the devs went in to try to put them back where they seem fair. They did this because they were trying to make sure it launched at a high score. So it was kind of obvious that all these were astroturfed reviews on there. Now, we also had on Metacritic, did you hear about the Modern Warfare?
No,
So, game scores from the game review sites...
Wait a minute, was this the one you were talking about last week?
80, 87s, no, not last week.
Okay.
80, 87s, and then the user scores have been all 10% and
there's nothing
ones.
New.
Because there's nothing new in the game.
I think you did mention this
So, the gaming of Metacritic and the Metascore is almost getting out of hand at this point. It's almost... It's scary, too, because it's in... Well, I don't go to Metacritic. I never check it. I never read it. I put no stock into it. But I do go into Steam and go into the sales list, and right now there's 60 pages of stuff on sale. I sort that by the Metacritic score, and then just start going down, and seeing, okay, which of these should I look at? So in a sense,
it actually does matter.
So, yeah.
Not directly in the sense of, oh, this is a low score, I'm not going to touch it, but, oh, this is a top of a list.
Yeah, it'll get to the top of the list of, any games that I'm interested in. Out of these 60 pages, let me look on that.
It's almost as if someone boosted up a game to say 23.
Yeah, it's ratings manipulation. It's ratings manipulation. It's no different than the indie lists. It's going on in the main list. Now, there's been some conversation as to whether or not devs should be allowed to
Rate any game.
rate the games.
How do you identify devs at that
Yeah,
point? though?
first of all, there's a pragmatic part
review.
on a user review system, but I think some of the users said in the comments that user reviews are not taken in the same light as critic reviews by the readers, and I know that.
To an extent, that's all right.
I know that when I go to Amazon and I see I read the 5 stars and I read the 1 stars, and I read why they give it 5, why they give it 1, and kind of judge on there if those things are important to me. The actual 5 or 1 stars in the aggregate is irrelevant. I don't care about that. I just care about, did you like it, did you not, and why, and that leads me to read the text.
I care more about how many total reviews there are, because I feel like I'm getting a wider subset if there are a lot more reviews. And
it almost comes out in the wash. Like, if somebody games it, somebody unfairly slams it, and those will get...
Like, 3 and 4 star may affect me, but a 3 star with 100 ratings is probably better, in my mind, than a 4 star with 5 ratings.
You don't look at Modern Warfare 3. It's like 1 star with, like, thousands of ratings or whatever. I'm talking about products.
Games are kind of the exception for me. Like, I kind of know what I want to play. I don't want to, like... I'm not just like, man, I got nothing to play. You know, I think I'll buy a random game based on a score.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this, Ben?
Well, I will say that, at least as far as I've seen, Metacritic ratings are given a lot of weight by the people who make important business decisions at large companies that make video games.
I've heard of bonuses being assigned to Metacritic ratings.
Yep, I have heard of that as well. I'm not sure if they totally believe that good Metacritic ratings will cause good sales, or if they just recognize the correlation between good sales and good Metacritic rating. But for whatever reason, they are very, very intently focused on the sorts of ratings that games get.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think the biggest problem is for Metacritic themselves, though. If they lose the perspective of integrity, Steam will drop them from the list. And when Steam drops them from importing them, they lose their advertising revenue. They become less of a relevant site. So it's on them to really kind of fix the system.
Yeah,
and I don't know what the answer is, because I don't think... As long as a developer identifies himself as a developer, I have no issue. I only have issues with developers that...
Well, even if they don't...
hide
even if,
the fact that they're a developer and then astroturf the review.
Even if you have to have, like, a real name, or so, even if someone can go in and say, these reviews look fishy, oh, this person identified himself as this person, and I don't know how you do that, because I don't know, someone can make...
Now, the guys from Telltale apparently did it in a very obvious, like, you knew it was Telltale employees.
Right.
They were not hard to hide. They were using well-known forum handles and gamer tags, so...
Well, I think that is a risk you take with any
Give
sort
them
of
hats.
user reviews. Hats. Hats only work if you identify yourself as a developer. You don't know, I mean...
Any problem can be solved with a sufficient use of hats.
Yes,
What?
it was a joke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Team Fortress.
I thought you meant, like, some sort of icon beside the
Well,
user
that
account.
too, but just hats is the answer to everything.
Oh.
I think it's about time that we got to our new
It's been a long
releases
day.
of the week. It has. It's been a long break. Did you do any Black Friday?
I went out last night and stayed out till about 3.
Wow.
Bought the,
So you did live Black Friday.
I stood in line
Dear
at Best
Lord.
Buy because a friend wanted to get a TV and a tablet.
Why?
I don't know. Actually, like I said, I got newest version of Premiere Elements for $50. So, hopefully that will make my
Life easier
life easier.
on the video editing. What about you, Ben? Did you go out any Black Friday shopping?
No, not for me. It's not as big a deal in Canada. There certainly are some Black Friday sales now, but nothing worth camping on pavement for me.
No, I guess it really is a U.S. thing because I guess the traditional start is all the families are together at Thanksgiving. So Friday, everybody has off.
All the moms group
You
up.
start going Christmas shopping for each other then.
It will eventually be a national holiday here. I mean, I joked like this
I thought
morning.
the bank was
like,
closed today.
I'm
He
gonna
thought
go
the
out and
bank was
check the
closed today.
mail. because
Everybody
it's not
thought
yet
that-
a national holiday.
Everybody thought the bank was closed today. I went to the bank, and the bank lady said all the calls that I fielded today have been people asking if the bank is closed.
But I'm glad the bank was open because basically our home loan's approved. So we will be adding a room to the house. We'll get that back out and getting to refinance at ridiculously low rates. We're going to suffer such an inflation. Oh, man, you cannot give away this much money like this, for this long. But yeah, my home loan's going to be at like 3.25 or 3.3% or something. It's fucking ridiculous. It's almost like I could create a savings account that would pay for the interest on my mortgage. You know?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know where you're banking, but I'm down to like less than 1% on my savings account. No, it's like
I'm in a
CD
credit
or
union. I'm
something.
in a
Well,
credit
okay.
union. I've always been in a credit union.
You may be in a better position. Well, I'm at a small local bank, so it's not quite like,
As bad as the big guys, but yeah. I'm sure everybody is fascinated by this talk. Now it's time for our
people discuss money.
now it's time for our new releases of the week. And our first new release this week is Perkuna's Dragon.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Sounds good.
It's a scrolling shooter with some RPG elements. I think Cicely and I were ready just to nix and pass on this game completely, but you defended, so we did video of this.
I felt like it's graphically, it was really good. The cutscenes were awesome, and many of them were voice acted. Gameplay was, it was competent. It was like, it had the polish there, but I didn't quite get what was going on. There were a couple of spells you were able to use. The tutorial says, hey, do this, and it took me a while to figure out exactly what there's one where you can pick up objects, and it was only in the video where I figured out, you can pick up an object and use it as a shield instead of, but it's pretty cool.
So, next one up, we did video of, and it is Hidden in Plain Sight. Now, this is a multiplayer-only game, made by the developer we had on last week. Name has escaped me.
Adam Sprague.
Adam Sprague, yes. I can't, reference the tab in my browser window right now because it's broadcasting the game. Just issues of the new software. I need to have a second.
Everyone wants to see, a clip of a Google page.
Yeah.
That would be. That's
Well, it wouldn't be the
the
Google page. It's I got a tab up of the podcast from the last time. But so this is we talked about it a lot on the last show, but it is a multiplayer game.
Multiplayer spy party.
Yeah. It's a lot of spy party games. If you've played Assassin's Creed Brotherhood,
If this is going to become a genre, 'cause I
the
know there's a
multiplayer
couple
game.
of
Well, actually, because Adam said
games
he
that have
hadn't
done this.
played
yeah,
Brotherhood, so it's predates that, but
But
this
I
is the one
remember-
that'll be most popular.
Yeah.
The game basically involves around of figuring out who the computer players are and who the human players are, and then either trying to avoid being detected or kill them when you detect them. It's pretty damn fun.
yeah.
I mean, this is definitely, again, it's multiplayer only, but with family over, or if you need a couple gamers on, this is worth $1. This is worth to grab it, and there's several variants of gameplay there, from just kind of like moving in a crowd, and you walk around and touch statues. If you touch 5 statues, you win. But if you catch somebody who's actually moving and touch statues, you can kill them. And if you take everybody out, you can win that way as well. There's a sniper mode where you try to snipe the person who is the human player, and they try to collect coins on the screen without you noticing. There's 3 more modes that are not available on the trial, but just for those 2 alone, like it's worth $1.
Sounds good. I agree. It's a good party game. It's it's the type of thing that you kind of have to like the genre. I think I would get tired of and kind of frustrated with the sneaking mechanic after a while. But, for...
Really? You don't get into, like, watching how the computer moves and then mimicking that on your own character to make sure, like, you behave in the way...
It's like, I got to get from point A to point B. I just want to get from point A to point B.
Yeah,
after a while.
I shot you early a lot. I shot you simply a lot of times.
Because I just got unlucky a couple of times.
The first game, like, you can see if you watch the video, like, there's kind of this aha moment that Cicely and I had after playing it.
Yeah. Like, the first time you play it, you just kind of... It's hard to explain, so you kind of get the ropes of the system
like,
the first time through.
Here's how people are figuring it out.
Alright, our next one up is Canyon Viaduct. This one is a shoot the zombies to keep them from getting to a character.
Yes,
type game.
It's got kind of this other
I'd say
aspect.
It's awful. I'm not going to go into much more.
Well, you're also between rounds. You're building a bridge over this canyon, and I didn't quite get the concept there.
They said this has failed many, many times. It's your turn to try to fail.
Yeah,
and I was like, I could see why it failed. It's like, okay, whatever. Die.
It was executed very poorly. The controls were awful.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain I shot the person I was trying to save.
Yeah, I'm sure he got shot a lot on mine as well.
It seems like the germ of a good idea. It's just not executed well.
Next one up we have is Angry Zombie Ninja Cats. This is a platformer, but it's a really, 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 really basic. I think it
felt like someone's first try at a platformer.
It did, and it had 17 stages, I think.
It was some low number.
It was some number, because it told you, like, you were on stage such and such and such and such. But, man, in the trial, I was blowing through them, and I think I got to, like, 8 or 9 before the trial ended on my first playthrough.
There was a difficulty curve. It wasn't much, but, like, the first ones were really, really easy. The later ones were they were tricky.
Then some of them just...
Some of them, it was just because the bounding box was wrong that I got messed up.
It was, like I said, it felt like someone's first attempt at it. I did like one mechanic that they kept using. There were a lot of levels that depended on kind of this leap of faith mechanic, where you knew you were supposed to go off the screen. You knew you were supposed to scroll down the screen, but you had to be careful of where you jumped, or you would fall in a pit or something. So... good design.
Well, good first effort. Like, it's hopefully they don't turn to the dark side and start cranking out massage apps and get bitter because this one game that they thought was going to...
They do mention zombies, though, so... Who knows?
True.
You are zombified.
Our last game up this week, there was only 5. Itza. And, what a blatant Inca block steal this was. Down to the menus.
The game mechanic was something completely different.
The menus use stones that fly in off screen.
Oh, and,
I am joking. If the developer's listening or something, don't take this literal. I'm joking, but a Inca themed puzzle game.
We feel your pain, actually.
Yeah,
we're laughing, but deep down we're crying with you.
At least yours isn't 3D, so you don't have to deal with my zoom is on the wrong stick.
I don't know, I get the basic concept, but it's tricky. You have to plan several moves ahead, and I never quite figured...
Well, you couldn't plan that much ahead because you couldn't see that far ahead. It was a match all game, so you match 2 items and clear it. If you've played Puzzle Quests, and you've played the mini... Weird to say this, but you've played the mini games in Puzzle Quest where you have to clear a screen instead of playing the combat. There's ones where you actually have to clear a screen, and you have to do it in such a way to make sure that you don't leave some of the dots on one side of the screen, some of the dots on the other side of the screen, so that they can never get closer together. You've got that same type of game going on here. I did play it in multiplayer. It does support a co-op, but I found that really frustrating because...
For a puzzle game that's already,
It was still the Match 2 game that you played, but you didn't have your own... You weren't working on your own sets. You were working on the same set, and you could cancel each other out, so... And there just wasn't enough room for two people to be working on the same set of blocks at the same time. At most you could flip 4 blocks. You seem to have one of 4 choices to make.
From some of the screenshots, it seems like later levels will expand the size of the game field, but I don't know.
So that wraps up our new releases of the week. For Game of the Week, now we only did video on Perkuna's Dragon and Hidden in Plain Sight. I think you know that Cicely and I are going to be on Hidden in Plain Sight.
I would probably vote for Perkuna's Dragon above Hidden in Plain Sight. Both of them were good, but I will gladly.
Are you confirming that?
Over.
Are you confirming that, Cicely?
I will confirm it.
Yeah. So
she's your woman. You make decisions for her. That's how this works.
She does what I tell her to do.
I'm not
That's
drunk
how this
enough.
works.
I am not drunk enough.
Yeah.
You're a woman. You don't have to be.
All right. Congratulations, Adam. Even though Dylan's not as stoked on it, I was actually quite stoked on it.
No, I won't.
Playing it multiplayer. I played it 4 times with my brother. The first time we played it, we went back and played it 3 more times just to play it. I noted how cheap we were in that playing it 4 times. We didn't give his damn dollar because it wasn't. I didn't have my account and my brother's account. We were over at my family, so it was my dad's Xbox and his account, and he had no points, or we would have bought it.
But you'd have to put in like.
But you have to put in like $5,
something.
and yeah, so.
It's. I mean, you can get a lot out of those 2 games, and I'm not saying. I wouldn't say I'm not stoked on it. It was fun. It just seems like the kind of thing that I would go like, okay, I'm done. Several games in. Let's play something else. Rock Band, something cooperative.
All right, before we get out of here, Ben, any last comments, words, suggestions, ideas, things you want to plug?
I'd say go check out Hidden in Plain Sight. It's definitely got my dollar.
Yeah, that's. I don't understand Dylan's issues. I don't see how you can rank that.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying. I know
Can't win. He's not drunk.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I'm not drinking, so he's not arguing with the drunk.
I'm saying people have different taste in games. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just different.
I'm saying it's wrong. That's what I'm saying.
There are plenty of
There is a
people
correct
I say
answer.
have
Your opinion is wrong.
That's why it's an opinion.
Yes.
Messing
with you. Well, all right then. I think we're wrapped up here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Ben, for coming on. And I'm looking forward to kind of where you go next. You said your next thing is getting DLC Quest on the PC, so I'll watch the blog and look for great announcements there. And then see what else you come out with the small game ideas and how that goes. Everyone else, thank you for tuning in, and we will be back and do this all again in a week.